Drake's From Time is one of those tracks that just feels like a classic. It's comfortable. But under that super smooth Jhené Aiko hook and that chill beat, there is a masterclass in being vulnerable, in regret, and in just figuring yourself out. So today, we're going to pull this whole thing apart. We're going to see it as more than just a relationship song and really look at how Drake builds an entire emotional world in just a few minutes. All right, let's get into it. So right off the bat, the song doesn't kick off with some big, loud hook. It starts with just this one line. And it's not an introduction, is it? It feels like we're already in the middle of something. He just drops us right into a conversation that's already happening. It's like picking up the phone and catching the tail end of a story. And that, right there, immediately creates this feeling of intimacy, of a shared history. We know there's a past here, and we're about to be a fly on the wall for one side of a really important phone. And that's really the key to the whole track. The entire thing is set up like a one-sided phone call. It's not a performance for us. It's Drake talking directly to this one person. And that means we, the listeners, kind of become these silent observers, eavesdropping on something incredibly personal. Now, what makes this so powerful is that it really pulls you in. It feels like a real, raw stream of consciousness. He's jumping all over the place, from how he feels right now, to memories of past relationships, to things his parents told him. It's messy, it's unfiltered, and it honestly makes you feel like you're listening in on one of those late-night calls where all the walls have come down. Okay, so let's get to the hook, because this is easily one of the most famous parts of the song, but it's also one of the most complicated. On the surface, it sounds like pure confidence, total bravado, but there's so much more going on. It's a total paradox. There it is. I love me enough for the both of us. I mean, what a statement, right? It's so bold, almost arrogant. It's exactly the kind of thing you'd expect to hear from a global superstar. But the more you listen to it, the more you start to hear the little cracks in all that confidence. And this just lays out the tension perfectly. On one hand, you've got the confidence. He's saying his self-love is so solid, it's something you can rely on. That's why you trust me. It's a show of strength. But then it's also a defense mechanism. It's a shield. When he tells her, darling, you give, but you cannot take love, he's basically saying his own self-love has to be enough because she can't, or maybe won't, give it back to him. So it's both confidence and a wall to protect himself from getting hurt. So to try and make sense of where he's at now, Drake takes us on a tour. But it's not a tour of cities or anything like that. It's a tour of his past relationships. And these aren't just name drops. He uses these specific people and places, like emotional landmarks that map out his journey. So this is like his emotional roadmap. We go from Portia in Texas to a much younger, kind of insecure Drake in Houston, trying to impress Summer with his mom's debit card. Then we're at the Beverly Center with Bria. Each one is a little snapshot. But it's that last one, Courtney from Atlanta, where things take a turn and get really honest. And boom, this is the moment of pure confession. Just thinking about Courtney, who he mentions is now engaged, it forces him to look back at his own behavior. He flat out admits to selfish decisions and says he hopes he's forgiven. So you see, this isn't just him getting nostalgic, it's him taking a painful inventory of his own mistakes. Okay, so all of this reflection, this messy phone call, the weird self-love paradox, this trip through his past regrets, it's all building to a huge turning point in the song. He starts realizing he needs something more meaningful than the life he's been living. This line right here, this is basically the thesis statement for his growth. He's seeing how empty the whole superstar lifestyle can be, and he's completely redefining what he wants his ambition to be. He doesn't just want to be rich and famous anymore. He wants to have a real impact, to influence a generation. It's a huge shift from needing everyone else's approval to finding his own purpose. So how is he going to do it? Well, he actually lays out a little plan for us. First, he's reconnecting with his dad, just getting back to basics. Second, he's got that new mission we just talked about. And third, he gets hit with this incredibly sobering piece of advice from his mom. Who the fuck wants to be 70 and alone? And it's that fear, that single question, that really grounds his entire search for something more. And all of this brings us to the song's absolutely incredible ending. Because after all this soul-searching and all this confessing, he doesn't wrap it all up nicely. Not at all. He's left with more questions than answers, and he turns right back to the woman on the other end of that phone call. He asks this, and you can just feel the genuine confusion. It's a moment of total vulnerability. He's basically admitting that he doesn't even get his own past self anymore. He's lost. And just as you're trying to process that, he follows it up with one last, final plea.
And there it is, the very last line he says to her. It is the perfect mix of his old ego, calling himself the boy, and this new, raw desperation. It's a brag, for sure. But it's also this incredibly fragile question that just hangs there in the silence, unanswered. And that's the genius of the whole thing. There's no resolution. He doesn't tie it up in a neat bow. We never hear her response. We don't know if they figure things out. The song just ends. And that lack of an answer, it's totally deliberate. It's meant to feel like the messy, unresolved reality of relationships and self-discovery.
So in the end, From Time isn't about finding easy answers. It's about having the guts to even ask the really hard questions. It's a confession that gets its power not from some clean solution, but from the raw, honest, and completely unresolved search itself. And maybe that's the whole point, that the search for the answers is actually way more important than ever finding them.